Ash Ketchum vs Professor Kukui, the first Alola champion versus Alola's regional professor. This battle would go down in history as one of the most iconic and epic Pokemon battles in anipoke history. In this full battle, we get to see the true power of Professor Kukui and his Pokemon, and the full power of Ash's Alola team. Granted, Ash won this battle with Pikachu in the end. Should he really have won? Tapu Koko intervenes and acts as Kukui's 6th and final Pokemon, and also allows each participant an additional use of a Z-move at the end of the battle. But despite this, I must only look at the battle we actually witnessed, and cannot speculate about how the match would have gone should Kukui have used his actual 6th Pokemon, and I've actually got a whole video speculating what that Pokemon could have been that you can check out after this. Hey Pokemon champions, I'm Champion Blaze, and let's see if Ash really deserved to beat Professor Kukui. Did Ash pull out all his best strategies and plays against Kukui? Or perhaps Kukui had moments where he could have won much earlier in the battle? We won't know unless we jump into the battle. The battle begins and Ash sends out Torracat to start off. Opposite him, Kukui sends out Incineroar in order to continue their rivalry between the two Fire-type starter Pokemon that they've had throughout the series. Kukui does own an Empoleon, which obviously would have had the type advantage here, but Ash and Kukui, like I said, are trying to conclude their rivalry here between Torracat and Incineroar here. So this battle is more symbolic. So this isn't a misplay. Ash starts off with Flame Charge and Kukui puts Incineroar into defense mode and has it tank the attack by using Bulk Up, a great way to defend while raising attack. Ash goes for Flame Charge now with increased speed and Kukui counters with Darkest Lariat. Torracat manages to evade the attack and goes to strike Incineroar from behind, a pretty clever move. But Kukui sees that coming and swats down Torracat after it tried to use Fire Fang. But Ash yet again tries Flame Charge with even more speed this time, and this time runs circles around Incineroar in an attempt to confuse it. But with Incineroar's extensive experience battling in Battle Royales, it easily uses Throat Chop on Torracat. Incineroar closes in and Torracat uses Fire Blast, but it gets deflected. Kukui then launches his own powerful Fire-type move and goes for Blast Burn. Torracat braves the flames head-on, unfazed by its intensity. Now this isn't really a misplay, but just a moment of Ash believing in his Pokemon, and it just ends up working out since he trusted Torracat to make those flames its own, and they do get absorbed into Torracat's pendant. But the flames are just too intense and can't be absorbed properly, so with Torracat facing slight exhaustion, Ash recalls Torracat, promising it'll get another chance later. Incineroar stays in and Ash sends out Lycanroc. So far, neither side has yet to misplay. With Incineroar unable to move after using Blast Burn, Ash deals direct damage using Accelerock. He then uses Stone Edge and Incineroar counters with Darkest Lariat to break up the stone pillars. But Ash wisely grabs a broken piece of the stone pillars and has Lycanroc strike Incineroar with the piece in its mouth. It's a clash between the piece of Stone Edge and Throat Chop. Lycanroc is unfazed and Incineroar takes some damage. Kukui recalls Incineroar and sends out Braviary as his next Pokemon. Now with Braviary being a flying type, you would think this is a misplay. However, we will soon find out that it knows Superpower, which is a fighting type move, which is super effective against the rock type Lycanroc. However, even with that knowledge, I'm still forced to give Kukui a misplay here, as he also has Lucario, Venusaur, and Empoleon in his arsenal. 3 other Pokemon that would not receive super effective damage from Accelerock or Stone Edge. And while Empoleon and Lucario can receive big damage via counter since it's a fighting type move, Venusaur doesn't receive any sort of super effective damage from Lycanroc whatsoever. So in reality, Venusaur would have been Kukui's optimal choice, so misplay Kukui. The battle resumes and Braviary fires off Rock Slide and Ash tells Lycanroc to prepare for the attack as part 1 of this battle comes to a close. The battle continues and Lycanroc uses counter to knock back the rocks towards Braviary, striking it twice and knocking it out of the sky. A great play. Kukui's next attack is Skydrop, and here is where Ash is going to get his first misplay of the match. Skydrop is a move where the target is taken into the air at a high altitude and then plummeted into the ground with immense speed and force. I know, seems pretty obvious. Well, apparently not to Ash. Ash goes for Bite and latches onto Braviary's leg, which in turn means that Lycanroc is stuck in Braviary's grip as it becomes an easy target to latch onto with its talons. Ash should have gone for Stone Edge to try and hit Braviary from a distance or at least mess up its flight path. An alternative would have also been to go for the faster and more aggressive move of Accelerock to hit Braviary with more force and avoid being grabbed. In this way, Ash could have potentially avoided suffering the huge damage from Skydrop. So, misplay Ash. Lycanroc, even after taking all that damage, manages to stand up and continue battling. It now uses Stone Edge, but Braviary slices through with Steel Wing to counter. This creates a cloud of smoke around the battlefield, leaving Lycanroc unable to see Braviary's location. It then strikes with superpower, dealing big damage. Lycanroc tries to stand tall, but the damage is too great and Lycanroc is now unable to battle. Ash has taken the first loss of the match. For his second Pokemon, Ash sends out Rowlet. Wait, what? A grass type? But why? Well, even though this is in line with Ash's character as he states he wants an aerial battle with Braviary, I'm still giving Ash a misplay here. Rowlet is a grass flying type, which means it's weak to Sky Drop if Braviary uses it. Additionally, Rowlet's two grass type moves of Razor Leaf and Seed Bomb are resisted by Braviary. Despite Ash winning this matchup with Rowlet anyways, he alternatively could have just chosen to use Pikachu or Naganadel instead, as both Pokemon can use the electric type move of Thunderbolt. This probably would have allowed for a much easier win against Braviary, so misplay Ash. Rowlet goes for Razor Leaf, but Braviary slices through with Steel Wing. It goes in for Steel Wing again and closes in on Rowlet. They have an aerial battle in the sky and Rowlet goes for Seed Bomb. The two then enter a volley going back and forth with the Seed Bomb. Braviary finally manages to make contact with Steel Wing and knocks Rowlet down. It goes for Superpower and Rowlet strikes back with a powerful Brave Bird. Sneakily, Rowlet manages to dodge Superpower and strike with Brave Bird, causing Braviary to descend to the ground, leaving it unable to battle. Kukui has now lost his first Pokemon. Kukui's third Pokemon is Venusaur. Now, despite this being a matchup between grass types, don't forget that Venusaur is also a poison type as well. So despite its moves of Vine Whip and Solar Beam being 4 times resisted by Rowlet, it can still deal super effective damage with Sludge Bomb. However, it's still weak to Rowlet's Brave Bird attack. With this in mind, this isn't a misplay as his next best option would have been Lucario. Lucario takes neutral damage from Brave Bird and dishes out neutral damage with Extreme Speed and Dragon Pulse, so it's essentially an even exchange. Either one would have been fine. The reason I'm not saying Incineroar here is because Kukui is trying to reserve Incineroar for its battle with Torracat. And keep in mind, Ash still has Melmetal on standby, and with it being a mythical Pokemon, it's a bigger threat than Rowlet, so no misplay Kukui. Ash smartly begins with Brave Bird, but Venusaur stops it cold by trapping Rowlet inside its huge flower. With Rowlet unable to escape, it begins to charge up Solar Beam. But in a genius play, Ash has Rowlet use Feather Dance to escape the blast from Solar Beam when it's fired off. Rowlet takes no damage. Ash goes for Brave Bird again, but Venusaur counters the attack head-on with Sludge Bomb. With the attack stopped, he uses Vine Whip to knock down Rowlet and finish the match. Rowlet is unable to battle, and Ash has lost his second Pokemon. Ash recalls Rowlet and sends out Torracat next. Torracat goes for Fire Fang and Venusaur uses Vine Whip to grab Torracat, but Torracat sends the flames down the vines to deal damage to Venusaur. With Venusaur burned by the flames, Torracat uses Fire Blast. Despite trying to defend with Sludge Bomb, Fire Blast burns up the poison-type move and deals a direct hit on Venusaur, leaving the Pokemon unable to battle. Kukui has now lost his second Pokemon. And this is where I'm going to give a misplay to Kukui. It's been established that both sides can switch out Pokemon an unlimited number of times. So why didn't Kukui switch out Venusaur for Empoleon? With Empoleon possessing the water type, it would have had a clear advantage over Torracat, meaning that Kukui could have spared Venusaur a loss here and taken out Torracat. Now granted he wants to do this with Incineroar, he still could have used Empoleon to weaken Torracat, or at the very least, just force Ash to switch into another Pokemon while still keeping Venusaur for another matchup. So misplay Kukui. Ironically, Kukui's next Pokemon is Empoleon. This time Ash sends out Pikachu into the battle. Pikachu fires off Electro Web and Empoleon slices through with Metal Claw, so they fight steel with steel as they clash with Metal Claw and Iron Tail. Empoleon switches to Drill Peck but is stopped by Electro Web, but while Pikachu falls from the air, Empoleon takes the opportunity to trap it in its Whirlpool attack. Pikachu is unable to escape the waters and is left completely dizzy and disoriented. Pikachu clearly can't battle like this, so Ash recalls it and then sends out Melmetal. Ash has Melmetal spin with all its might and by doing so is able to completely deflect Empoleon's Hydro Pump attack. Empoleon uses Whirlpool, but the move simply has no effect on Melmetal. It's here where I'd like to point out that Kukui probably would have had better luck by sending out Lucario since it could have dealt super effective damage with close combat. But with Empoleon being a bit bulkier and being resistant to Melmetal Steel-type moves, I'm sure Kukui wanted to use a Pokemon with a bit higher defense. So no misplay here actually. Melmetal uses Double Iron Bash, and this move smashes through Empoleon's defenses and leaves it unable to battle. Kukui then sends out his own Pokemon with plenty of bulk and power, Incineroar. He starts with Darkest Larry and uses the move to fend off Ash's Flash Cannon attack and then strike Melmetal. But it doesn't go down just yet. Ash uses Double Iron Bash and Incineroar grabs Melmetal's fist. Melmetal gets in close and the two Pokemon are locked in place. Ash is at a disadvantage here, but his only other options are Naganadel, Torracat, and Pikachu. Ash receives a misplay here for essentially being too confident and blown away by Melmetal's defense, power, and strength. He could have continued the matchup between Incineroar and Torracat or used Pikachu or Naganadel to deal neutral damage as well. Ideally, he should have used Naganadel since it would resist Incineroar's fire-type moves since it is a dragon type. With the Pokemon locked in place, Kukui takes the opportunity to strike down Melmetal with a point-blank blast burn, engulfing the Pokemon in searing flames and leaving it unable to battle. Kukui recalls Incineroar and sends out his next Pokemon, Lucario. As for Ash, his next Pokemon is Naganadel. No misplay with this choice since Ash only has half his team left and he's saving Torracat for Incineroar, and Pikachu isn't really the best matchup for Lucario. With that, the next matchup is Lucario versus Naganadel. The battle continues, and Naganadel goes for X-Scissor while Lucario goes for Close Combat. Lucario leaps above Naganadel and lands a direct hit with Close Combat, sending it back. Ash goes for Sludge Bomb, and I don't even need to point out that this is a misplay because Ash and the commentator do it for me.
Get in there! Oh no! I forgot! Use Dragon Pulse! Poison-type attacks are completely ineffective against Steel-type Pokemon! Sludge Bomb won't work against Lucario!
Lucario charges forward, then jumps and prepares to fire off Dragon Pulse. However, Naganadel dodges the attack and appears behind Lucario. It fires off Thunderbolt, but Lucario blocks the attack with its arms to lessen the damage, but it is thrust into the ground. Then Ash goes for X-Scissor again, and this time scores a direct hit on Lucario. Lucario then uses Extreme Speed, and Naganadel uses X-Scissor. However, the agile Lucario is far too fast for Naganadel to keep up, and Lucario strikes a powerful blow from above, knocking Naganadel into the ground. Both trainers then prepare for and anticipate the next attack, and we get a head-to-head clash between both Pokemon using Dragon Pulse, causing an immense explosion with tremendous force. Ash closes in with X-Scissor and Lucario blocks the attack. However, to Kukui's unfortunate surprise, Naganadel is also able to deliver a devastating blow with a twin Dragon Pulse attack at close range. This sends Lucario flying back, and Lucario is unable to battle. Ash recalls Naganadel, and it's time for Ash and Kukui to finish their fiery vow. Time for the epic final showdown between Torracat and Incineroar. Both Pokemon size each other up, paying close attention to the other's movements. Then they finally attack, Incineroar using Darkest Lariat and Torracat using Flame Charge. Torracat is able to throw off Incineroar's balance and then strike with Flame Charge. It goes for Fire Fang, but it's countered by Throat Chop. Incineroar then uses Bulk Up to raise its attack and defense. Torracat launches Fire Blast, but Incineroar blocks it and holds the flames in place. The flames aren't strong enough and Incineroar subdues them, but then Torracat is able to land a barrage of attacks with Flame Charge, dealing considerable damage to Incineroar. It goes for Fire Fang, but this time Incineroar grabs it by the neck and stops it in its tracks. Unable to break free from Incineroar's grasp, it is blown back by a powerful Throat Chop attack. Refusing to give up, however, it ignites its flames even further and seemingly activates its Blaze ability to score a direct hit to Incineroar with revenge, dealing massive damage to Incineroar. Not ready to throw in the towel just yet, Incineroar gets up and activates its Blaze ability as well. Torracat goes further beyond with its Blaze ability and is ready to end this battle with Incineroar. Ash and Kukui then both equip their Z-Rings with their Firium Z crystals. Both trainers get in sync with their Pokemon and prepare to use Inferno Overdrive. With both Pokemon ready, they launch their Z-moves in an epic double Z-move showdown. The fireballs collide and create a massive searing fireball in the middle of the battlefield. Ash commands Revenge and Kukui commands Throat Chop. They charge forth into the flames and collide head-on. In this final clash, the flames disappear and both Pokemon stand exhausted. But Incineroar is the one unable to battle, meaning Torracat finally beaten Incineroar. But then in a surprising twist, Torracat evolves into Incineroar as well. But then it too is unable to battle. Both trainers battled the absolute best they could here with their Fire-type Pokemon. The entire battle was leading up to this, but had they both battled a little differently, either Incineroar or Torracat would have been eliminated much sooner in the battle. As Kukui gets ready to send out his final Pokemon, Tapu Koko descends from above and interrupts the battle, showing its desire to battle alongside Kukui. Kukui and Ash think it's a great idea, and then Ash sends out Naganadel. The match has now become Tapu Koko versus Naganadel, an Island Guardian versus an Ultra Beast. The penultimate matchup of this battle gets underway as Naganadel begins with Sludge Bomb, but Tapu Koko defends using Steel Wing. The two powerful Pokemon then clash back and forth with Steel Wing and X-Scissor, clashing across the battlefield at incredible speeds and with intense force. Naganadel goes for X-Scissor again, and Tapu Koko counters with Dazzling Gleam and overpowers Naganadel. As Naganadel falls to the ground, Tapu Koko chases after it with Steel Wing. Naganadel regains its balance and flies upward and fires off Dragon Pulse. But this is a diversion, as it uses the explosion caused by the attack to conceal itself to fire back with X-Scissor. Kukui orders another Dazzling Gleam attack, and Naganadel fires back with Sludge Bomb, a good counter. But Tapu Koko charges right through it and knocks back Naganadel. Then it finishes it off with Discharge, as Naganadel is unable to counterattack in time. Naganadel is unable to battle. Ash almost had a flawless battle with Naganadel, as his strategies and counters were excellent here. However, there was one misplay during this part of the battle. After he used his Dragon Pulse to conceal Naganadel from Tapu Koko, he should have had Naganadel fire off Sludge Bomb instead of using X-Scissor. Given that Tapu Koko is a legendary Pokemon, he should have used the move that can deal super effective damage. This misplay also counts for how heavily Ash used X-Scissor against Tapu Koko, given that it resists Bug-type moves since it's a Fairy type. So Ash does receive a misplay, as he should have used Sludge Bomb more often. With Naganadel out of the match, Ash now sends out his final Pokemon, Pikachu. He leads with Thunderbolt, and Tapu Koko uses Dazzling Gleam to defend against Thunderbolt and send Pikachu towards the ground. No misplays here. Ash then uses Quick Attack and tries to confuse Tapu Koko with Pikachu's quick movements, but Pikachu can't land a hit. It uses Dazzling Gleam again, and Pikachu dodges it, then it strikes back with Iron Tail, super effective against the Fairy-type Tapu Koko. It gets slammed into the ground, and then uses Nature's Madness as Pikachu falls to the ground, but Pikachu counters this move with Electro Web, trapping the energy and causing a huge explosion. Ash goes for Quick Attack again and scores a direct hit, throwing Tapu Koko into the ground. It then successfully traps Tapu Koko with Electro Web. Pikachu uses Thunderbolt, but Tapu Koko uses Discharge to nullify the damage from the impact of Thunderbolt. Tapu Koko then expresses its desire to use a Z-move with Professor Kukui, and here we have a moment of shenanigans, as Z-moves are only permitted once per battle. But all 4 Island Guardians come together to sing their song to share their power with Kukui and Ash. This recharges the power of their Z-rings and allows them to use another Z-move. No one really misplays here or anything, but it is a bit of shenanigans. With that, Kukui and Tapu Koko prepare to use the signature Z-move, Guardian of Alola, and Ash and Pikachu prepare to use 10 million volt Thunderbolt. The two powerful moves collide in one of the greatest action sequences in Pokemon history and give us such a spectacle to behold. But even after these two great moves collide, Tapu Koko is no match for their power and energy, and it is unable to battle. Ash and Pikachu are the winners of this match. So what's my final verdict? Did Ash really deserve to win this battle? Well, yes he did. This battle was actually incredibly well balanced, and both trainers had excellent teams. But had either of them used different moves in different situations, or switched out their Pokemon a bit more frequently, then either of them could have won the match earlier. Kukui did have the potential to win the battle, and much earlier no less, but regardless, this was still a magnificent battle to watch. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts on this battle down in the comments. Special thanks to our channel members for their extra support, and until next time, train hard, and I'll catch you guys later.